Zakynthos, or more commonly known as Zante, is a jewel of the Ionian Sea, boasting lush olive groves, white sand beaches, and turquoise waters. With a rich ecosystem, it is home to dolphins, monk seals, and of course the famed and endangered loggerhead sea turtle. This island isn't just a haven for wildlife, it's a critical nesting site, where an estimated 80% of the Mediterranean's loggerhead sea turtles lay their eggs. But they are not the only ones drawn to Zante's shores. With a population of only 40,000 permanent residents, the island is overwhelmed by over 2 million visitors each year, attracted by sun, sea, sand, cheap prices, and of course, nightlife.
Much of the island's tourism is based on its turtle inhabitants, but with the growing influx of visitors, there may not be much of an island left for the turtles to call home.
What's the situation like at the moment?
The situation for the moment for Zakynthos and especially for the sea turtles is pretty bad.
Each year, using Earth's magnetic field, female sea turtles return to the beach they were born to lay their eggs, usually laying around 80 to 120 eggs under the cover of darkness. From July to October, the hatchlings begin the perilous journey to the sea, which only 20% survive. Loggerhead sea turtles are extremely vulnerable, facing many challenges to their survival, including predators and invasive species. By far, the most notable impact, however, comes from humans, often resulting in the decimation of their habitats, which causes the greatest decline in turtle populations worldwide. Not only does this include people going on nesting beaches, where the beach becomes physically smaller due to sand loss, but also noise and light pollution from beach bars, restaurants, and hotels. When a hatchling hatches, it uses the light of the stars to guide it to the sea, but with lights from beach bars and clubs, they become disorientated, often walking in the wrong direction and resulting in their premature death. Noise pollution, such as loud music, disorientates turtles coming ashore to nest, often forcing them to return to the sea without laying eggs. This is extremely distressing for turtles who generally only make the trip ashore for the sole purpose of laying their eggs.
Honestly, coming into this, I didn't really know what to expect. I'd read about the problems facing the turtles and beaches here in Greece, but it's not even remotely close to actually being here and seeing it in person and the impacts of it all.
So, for a bit more context, I spent the summer volunteering in the Mediterranean Marine Life Centre, located on what is probably one of the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen in my life. As a university student, I have studied conservation and the issues surrounding it quite extensively, but I don't think anything consolidates knowledge like seeing it firsthand. My time here really is what pushed me to want to make this documentary, because I gained such a greater appreciation for not only Zante's conservation efforts, but also the deep-rooted issues that are really driving this very notable decline in Zante's turtle population. Each morning at 7 a.m, we would walk the length of the beach and count the number of new nests versus false crawls. So a false crawl is the name given when the female turtle comes ashore but doesn't lay her eggs due to disturbances. A very clear rise in false crawls throughout the years demonstrates the higher level of disturbances impacting the turtle populations. In addition to this, hatching tracks are also counted, and a decrease in the number of hatchlings also shows the decline in the species.
It's currently 8:15 a.m. We've just done the morning survey on Gerkas Beach, and what we found was 6 new nests and 64 hatchling tracks, which averages to about 10 hatchlings per nest. I asked Dan, one of the volunteers, what the baseline for the number of hatchlings per nest would be at this time of the year, and he told me we strive for about 30 hatchlings per nest. So having only 10 hatchlings per nest really shows the dire situation on this beach and the impact of tourism on the turtle population at the moment.
Because of all these disturbances, the turtles are forced to migrate around the island until they find a suitable nesting beach, where inevitably they end up on Gerkas. This is why the beach has experienced a huge increase in turtle nests in recent years. And while sand quality on Gerkas is not the best for nests, as it's becoming their last option, the turtles lay their eggs here anyways. An EU-funded organisation called Archelon marks the nests across the island, denoted by the crate-like structures or the six you see in the sand. Because you see them in such close proximity, it does show that the beach is running out of room to support all the turtles coming ashore to nest.
If you can't find sand, you have to find sand somewhere to lay the eggs. turtles know without sound they can produce, so they're looking for a sound. Like I say, the geologists used to be, the average about 40 nests per season 30 years ago, now it's nearly 400. But it's not good because they can't produce. So the animal's still here, but we're losing the habitat. So the paradise for me of sea turtles' paradise is been lost.
In 2024, the highest number of nests on Garcas ever was recorded. While this may seem like a positive thing, it's actually highlighting how other beaches are being lost. Laguna and Kalamaki Beach were once a favourite, but with a huge reduction in sand and increased noise and light pollution, the turtles move around to where they will be undisturbed. There is one beach which is completely closed to the public, Zakynthos, and as a result this beach receives 52% of all nests on the island due to the lack of anthropogenic disturbances. Garcas Beach is the third favourite. While it once received only 6% of all nests, that number has now doubled, receiving 13% of all nests across the island. Turtles have a high fidelity to the beach they were born, 5 out of 6 times choosing to nest there. When turtles are forced to one beach, it begins to greatly reduce the species' chance of survival, as it decreases their gene pool. To break it down, sand quality varies immensely beach to beach, and this impacts eggs greatly. For example, on Garcas, sand is quite damp, meaning eggs have a lower survival rate. In addition to this, different sand colours absorb different amounts of heat. The sex of the turtle eggs is dependent on temperature, where at higher temperature eggs are female, and at lower temperatures they are male. It has been demonstrated that feminization of turtle populations has occurred due to increased temperatures globally. This is a problem as of course males are needed in relatively similar quantities to continue the species' survival. Overall, removing the beach choice from the turtle population and only having a few which are now suitable causes the species' genes to not be as widely varied and adapted, reducing their resilience and making them more vulnerable to extinction. Let's go back to who's supposedly protecting these beaches: the National Marine Park. It was originally founded in 1999 and it stretches from Garcas to Mauritius. All the beaches along it, including Laguna Beach and the sea, are part of it. Honestly, it's a bit of a joke to say these beaches are protected when you see what's actually going on here. Although they have a long list of rules, there is no one actually to enforce them. While there was once 80 wardens, there is now only 3 for the whole island. Rules include no anchoring in certain areas, no dogs allowed on the beach, restricting access to the beach at night, as well as a 350 person limit on the beach at any time, which on Garcas is rarely adhered to. When I asked for an interview, they declined. So a huge problem for these beaches is the number of people who actually go on them. So each time someone goes onto a beach, they unintentionally take a little bit of sand home with them, so like on their legs, on their towels, and this eventually leads to beach erosion and an immense loss of sand. As the beach gets smaller, there's not enough space for the turtles to lay their eggs, and the sand that remains isn't really of quality. The beaches are always covered in sun loungers, which turtles and hatchlings can get trapped on, and with tourists comes litter. And one of the most disappointing things I found is, after walking through the whole centre, tourists only have one question at the end of it.
What is the most common question you're asked here?
Where's the beach?
Where's the beach?
Where is the beach?
Where is the beach? Or where is the showroom?
Where's the beach?
Is that frustrating for you?
Yeah, very frustrating.
You can't police it, you can't say, don't go on the beach. You can suggest it to people, but it's not going to stop people because the beach is beautiful. You have the possibility to see turtles, you see the nests, and at the same time you walk away and you take, 5 grams of sand with you. If you have 1,000 visitors a day, that's a lot of sand, and it all adds up.
Another problem is the vibrations caused by so many people walking on the beach. Hatchlings are supposed to hatch under the cover of darkness where it is safest for them as they are out of sight of predators. But with vibrations in the sand coming from the sheer amount of tourists now on the beach, the hatchlings wake up during the day. While doing a morning survey, I saw hatchlings on about 4 or 5 separate occasions during broad daylight. Here are some of the videos I took, and I can tell you right now, each one of these babies got picked off by wading seagulls or fish in the water.
Yeah, there you go.
Another one's gone.
While Garcas Beach is not a good example of conservation, it looks like a turtle paradise compared to some of the beaches on the island. A very clear example of a once prolific turtle nesting site, which has now been overrun for anthropogenic use, is the clubbing area of Laguna. Laguna was once the main nesting site of Zakynthos, and the beach spread for miles. Now, the beach is barely 2 metres wide in places, with bars, clubs, and hotels spreading right up to the shoreline.
Restaurant on the beach club, beach restaurant, beach club, beach club. Seafront suites right on the beach bar, drive-in, beach restaurant, turtle spotting trips, beach club, more restaurants on the beach, right on the beach, bistro kitchen bar.
Of all the nests affected by artificial light on Zakynthos in 2022, 54% of these nests were on East Laganas. Going into more detail, 77.9% of nests on just East Laganas were affected by artificial light.
As a reminder, light disturbs female turtles coming ashore to nest, as they prefer quiet, dark areas. This often forces them to abandon nesting temps altogether. Hatchlings follow light often towards car parks and restaurants where they die of dehydration or exhaustion before ever making it to the sea. After about 2 weeks of volunteering, I was brought to Lagna to see the extreme impact tourism is having on the island, and safe to say, I was shocked. Looking at the beach, you cannot imagine a single turtle coming ashore. In fact, at this stage, there's hardly any sand left to classify it as one. Unfortunately, without the proper legislation or care, this is where each beach on the island is headed. Not only was there that dreaded noise and light pollution, but there was also litter everywhere.
Adult turtles often mistake plastic for food and they choke to death and die, or try to digest it, which blocks their digestive system, also resulting in death. Trash left near turtle nests are also deadly to baby turtle hatchlings, for when they leave the nest they can become trapped in the plastic and use up all of their energy, which results in their death.
This unsustainable building and development is just one effect over-tourism is having on the island. With tourists, however, comes the need for entertainment and activity, and this leads to another huge business on the island: turtle spotting boats.
Turtle boats are huge on the island. There's countless boats that provide the service, and most of them offer money back guarantee if you don't see a turtle. So what I heard happens is when one boat sees a turtle, they'll call all the other boats to come see that turtle to ensure that at least one turtle is seen on the trip. And because of this, the turtle is crowded around. It feels very overwhelmed, and it leads to heart attack-like symptoms in the turtle.
Turtle spotting boats started in the 90s with fewer boats around to go see the turtles, and now it's over 600 boats chasing turtles every day on the bay. In the 90s, when the turtle spotting started, there was maybe, I don't know, about 30, 40 boats for turtle spotting, and now it's nearly 600 boats. Too many boats, too many people chase the turtles. It's a big problem.
Hundreds of people go on them every day.
Do they harm the turtles?
They really harm the turtles. Often they can drive over them or hit them, and sometimes it even makes them so nervous that a female nesting turtle will drop her eggs in the middle of the ocean before nesting night has begun.
It's a big problem because turtles need to rest, they need to bask in and produce the eggs properly. If you're distressed, release the eggs on the water, or be damaged by accidentally by the propellers. No good situation. This kind of activity should be stopped completely.
After hearing this, I decided to go see the problem for myself firsthand. I didn't have to look far to find a company, and I eventually paid €25 for a 3-hour tour, guaranteeing me to see a turtle.
So this morning I've booked a turtle spotting trip, a turtle spotting boat. I just kind of want to see the full picture and to really see what's happening and where they go in the marine park and what exactly they do. Obviously, I've been told by many people that turtle spotting boats harm the turtles, but it's one thing to hear it and it's another thing to truly see it and understand it. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of this.
So most of the boats leave from Laguna, unsurprisingly enough. So I hopped on the boat, and it was actually a glass bottom boat, which, as Katie mentioned, sometimes have the tendency to drive over the turtles. Although I do sound a little bit cynical, I did go into this with an open mind. I just wanted to be there to observe and to see exactly what was happening here. So our first stop was Martinique Island, also known as Turtle Island because of its shape and the fact that it is, or rather was, a huge nesting site for turtles. So once a secluded turtle paradise, it is now completely overrun with tourists. I didn't really know much about this island before seeing it in person. All I knew is that it was a turtle nesting site, and it still is. Turtles still nest there, but not to the degree that they once did. People were sunbathing right close next to nests with a complete disregard for any potential eggs or hatchlings in that vicinity. And these were only the marked nests. There was the potential to be unmarked nests anywhere along the shore. you just don't know where they could be. There were also these boats offering refreshments, and not only were they playing loud music, but if you offer drinks on a secluded beach, best believe people are not bringing their litter home, and those cups will end up on the sand.
It's just a joke, really, in my opinion. There's people sunbathing everywhere. There are boats anchored right into the sand, creating deep crevices into the sand. There's loud music being played. There's rubbish everywhere. Like, why bring people to this island? Yeah, there's crystal waters, but there's crystal waters in the whole of Zante. There are beaches that are not turtle nesting sites that tourists could easily go to. I don't really understand that.
Okay, so after the trauma of Turtle Island, we headed back to Lagna Bay to spot our very own turtle. And it wasn't long before we saw a group of boats and headed there. So as a rule, there is only 2 boats allowed around a turtle at any one time, but here there were at least 6 or 7. Right now, the turtle was under the water, but whenever it would come up for air, the boats would reposition themselves so that the turtle was always in the centre of this circle. This is what induces those heart attack-like symptoms in the turtle and often makes them drop their eggs. In addition to this, the water in Lagna Bay is very shallow and it is extremely easy for a turtle to get clipped by the boats.
It's right under the boat right now.
In 2022, there were also 49 sea turtle strandings recorded on Zakynthos, 13 of which were located within the National Marine Park of Zakynthos within the first 10 months of 2022, and 43 out of the 49 strandings were dead turtles. The remaining 6 were injured, with 10 of the incidents being a clear result of a boat collision. Furthermore, the number of turtles that are found dead or injured are not accurate due to prevailing north winds during nesting season that may push carcasses offshore, meaning the number of dead turtles that wash up on shore only represents 7 to 13% of the estimated mortality.
Okay, so we moved around a little bit to see if we could spot any more turtles, and there's actually a rule that states you have to be 15 meters away from a turtle at any given time. Here are 2 more turtles that we spotted, and I'll let you be the judge of whether these boats were adhering to that rule. There's obviously a big market for these tours. There were about 30 people on our boat and plenty of other boats in the bay. But if I'm being honest, I don't judge them entirely because I think tourists just don't know it's wrong, and that's why I think educating people on these matters is so vitally important, which is definitely what the centre aims to do and what I'm hoping to do here. I will say, however, I think as humans are dynamic and the way we interact with wildlife has completely changed in the face of social media and phones. Once, encounters with animals were moments of wonder. Now they've become fleeting content, something to capture, post and move on from. Instead of engaging with nature, we frame it for likes, often at the expense of the very animals we claim to admire. The priority is no longer the well-being of wildlife, but the perfect shot.
I don't think the tourists here see what's in front of them. I think they see a photo opportunity, and I think they see the ability to be able to say they've seen a sea turtle when holidaying in Zante, but I don't think they see the actual animal that's in front of them or the well-being of the animal. Of course, tourists, they come here for a week or 2 weeks. You know, they go on a turtle spotting trip. They see turtles. They're delighted. They get to say to their friends that they've seen turtles. They get to post on Instagram that they've seen a sea turtle. And then they leave. And that's it. They go somewhere else next year and it doesn't affect them. But it continues to affect the island. It continues to affect the sea turtle population. It continues to affect the biodiversity here. It's the same with pollution and littering as well here. You know, people don't care because they don't have to care. It doesn't affect them at the end of the day when they get to go home next week. But it's the island that retains the impact of that. When I first came here, I thought tourism was the main issue affecting the sea turtle population in Zante. But being here, you see such a different side and you understand how deep-rooted the issue is and all the things that need to change. You know, there's so much more to it. Yeah, tourism affects it, that people should not be going on the nesting beaches. But then there needs to be the people there to make the laws, and more than that, to enforce the laws, to ensure that people aren't going on these protected beaches, or supposedly protected beaches.
What can people do?
People should try their best to fully research where they're planning to travel to, especially somewhere like Zakynthos, because you should be realising when you go on Zakynthos Beach that it really doesn't look like the sort of place for people to be.
The future is not bright. I think everything's going to collapse in the next 4 or 5 years. Before 30 is a big, and then we might be recognize what the damage we have done to the island and the turtles and the rest of the nature ecosystem, and maybe we start to do something about it. But before that, I can't see anything can happen, so the island will be continued damaging.
Yeah. It'll probably end up being like an example for other places to get their conservation in order before it's too late.
It is too late for conservation. I mean, whatever happened in the Marine Park area on this island of sea turtles, it's not protecting area. It's not, the measure is not there. The regulation is not there, and everything is so cosmetic and fake.
Yeah.
You can't allow so many people like on the beach, on Georgia's beach. We should be 350 people. It's over 1,000 every day. It's too many. So you can't chase anything for the moment. I think we have to wait to collapse, and then maybe something
Go from
happening.
there, yeah.
Until the businesses feel they are at risk because the turtles have stopped nesting on Zakynthos, which is likely in the next 5 years, that's when they will try to protect them.
I just think it's a shame, really. I think there's this golden opportunity to conserve the island's biodiversity and to protect what it already has, and I don't think it's being used.
As our organisation progresses and continues to take on more volunteers and interns, we hope that efforts to challenge the locals and government will help create change. Alongside our daily efforts to educate tourists and help manage the beaches around Zakynthos, we are not innocent bystanders in the systems that play out in our world, and accepting the status quo is part of the problem. Global leaders must collaborate across sectors, think critically, and have the courage to act. And we must engage with leaders that understand the complex world we live in and are ready to face the challenges and make change. In addition, a collaborative approach in improving the legal regulation of management practices and a more effective surveillance of the beaches and the marine area are urgently needed to ensure the conservation of loggerheads in this very important habitat in the Mediterranean. Zakynthos will be an example of how not to save the environment for current and future generations to learn from.
We have reshaped our relationship with wildlife and as a result reshaped the world we live in. Now, animals are seen as just another backdrop for tourism, another fleeting moment for a photo, another casualty of human expansion. Their survival is no longer dictated by nature, but by whether or not we decide they are worth saving. Conservation should be our way of making things right. Instead, it has become a marketing tool or a half-hearted effort that often fails the very species it claims to protect. Around the world, from the beaches of Zakynthos to the rainforests, the savannas and the oceans, we are seeing the same story unfold. Conservation efforts that do too little, too late. What's happening here in Zakynthos is just one example of a much bigger crisis. We build national parks but fail to enforce protection. We create laws but allow businesses to exploit loopholes. We claim to care but continue to prioritise tourism and profit over the survival of a species that has existed far longer than we have. If we truly want to protect our wildlife, we have to do more than just watch them disappear. We have to rethink how we live alongside them. Conservation isn't just about undoing damage. It's about prevention, about responsibility, about recognising that we are not separate from nature, but a part of it. Because if we don't change, we won't just lose the turtles. We'll lose entire ecosystems, the balance of our oceans, and a vital connection to the natural world that we can never get back. The question isn't whether or not we can do better, it's whether or not we will. This world isn't only where turtles live, it's where we live, it's our home, and we should want to take care of it. I really recommend you to get out and do your part. It doesn't need to be anything big, but making small conscious choices each day does have a huge impact in the long run. My time here changed not only me, but also my perspective and outlook on life completely and forever, and it was honestly just so much fun. Thank you so much to everyone who let me interview them. I was quite persistent asking if I could interview people, and I do appreciate it all so much.